and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Tonight we are joined by writer Jennifer Inglis. Okay, I'm going to turn you down just a little bit on my speakers here. There, because I'm hearing you breathe. Not that it's a problem. We want you to breathe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Breathing is a vital. Yeah, breathing is vitally.
Allowed to breathe. Thank you.
So I want to start off our interview about career changes. You went from school teacher to writer. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, actually, I went from other things to school teacher to writer. I went back to school at an advanced age I started the process about 15 years ago to become an English teacher. I'd been working in advertising for, a number of years, doing like media analysis and ad placement and all that really fun stuff.
Right.
And I just said, this is not working for me. And my mother had gone back to school to become a teacher, something she probably should have done years before, but didn't. And she encouraged me to start the process, which I did about 15 years ago. I have a degree in theater, and I wanted to teach English, so I had to go take some university level classes and make up some deficiencies. And then I started the program about 11 years ago, and I got my Illinois State Teacher certification in secondary English, grades 6 through 12, and which also led to a master's degree in teaching. And I taught in the Chicago suburbs in a high needs school district for about 6 years. I was a drama teacher. And it was an experience. It was middle school is not where I expected myself to be. I pictured myself as a very cool high school English teacher, with lots of turquoise and the scarves. And I found myself teaching middle school drama to children who did not want to learn drama. Oh. And they were quite adamant about that. And during that time, I started writing. I started writing humorous essays, which I put on a blog, and entertaining my friends with, funny little emails. And at some point, I decided to take those essays and put them into a book, which I self-published in 2013. And that was fun. It was a vanity project, but it was fun. And I got to thinking, you know what? I think I can do this. And I've always written, poems and short, whatnot. But really just seriously had an idea for a novel, and I did it. I wrote it, and I finished it, I would say about 5 years ago. And I managed to find a wonderful agent, and then we found a wonderful small publisher. And, I was off and running. I left teaching because I'd had enough, and here we are.
Okay. So that kind of swings into my second question. I was like, oh man, please don't tell too much. Don't tell too much. Because I was like, wait, second question.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. No, it happens to me all the time. There are some people I get on, and it's like, I don't know, they have some kind of mental link where they can just jump right into my next question. I don't even have to say anything.
No, I'm just in love with the sound of my own voice.
Well, you have a great voice. You could actually probably do what I'm doing. Let's see. So let me back this up just a little bit. So you're not just a writer. I think as I read and as you were saying, screenwriter, and I have something in here as like stand-up and director in theater. And I'm just kind of curious about the break time in the time frame, because you jumped ahead. You did advertising, which this part I did not know. So I've got that on the sideline here. So break down the exact career space. I want to know how you went from the advertising, you went back to school. But tell me where the stand-up comes into all that.
Well, it's funny. I have stand-up material, and I did a little stand-up in college. Mm-hmm. And, open mics and whatnot, moderately okay. And then I didn't do it for a while. And then I decided, when I left teaching, that I'm going to work up to it. I took some classes at the Second City in sketch comedy writing, and I I met some youngsters there that did stand up comedy, and I kind of got inspired, and they encouraged me, and I started putting together new material. And then the pandemic hit.
Mm.
So, I'm a stand up without an audience.
Ah.
Yeah, I was about to get into it again for the first time since, the 90s, and Mother Nature had other ideas. So I haven't yet stepped in front of the mic as a grown up,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm hoping when things go back to whatever passes as normal in the future that I can get back to it.
Now, did I just hear you say the 90s? So you did it in the 90s as well?
No, just in college in the
Oh,
90s.
just in the college. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I want to make sure
yeah.
I didn't miss something. I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
Where's this coming from? I got to do some better research, I'm telling you.
No, I'm kind of all over the place. So what I did is I took, whatever I would have used as stand-up material and kind of made them into essays,
Right. Okay.
written monologues.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of my comedy outlet for a good long time until I studied at the Second City in Chicago.
Okay. So tell me what kind of stand-up, what kind of content was you really rolling with on your stand-up?
Oh, back in the day,
Mhm.
and really, I write about, as we all do, my own personal experience, what it's like to be Jewish and a woman of varying sizes, as we all do over the years. um, and common irritants, those people who, and things that I have trouble processing in the world, because we've all got our thing. What it's like to be, a woman, an unmarried woman of a certain age, never been married. And I'm totally cool with that. That's fine. As Joy Behar, the comedian, used to say, she's like, I want a man in my life, not in my house.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that. I can get that, and
Yeah.
I'm right with you on that. Well, I'm married, so I just tell. What's that? There was this joke. There's this joke that goes around on TikTok when people ask me why I'm not dating anymore, and then you hear the guy in the background. He says, "For the last time, I'm not your roommate. I'm your husband."
Right.
I don't know. That just came into my mind. I thought that was funny. So, taking a note on your experiences, and as far as you did a little bit of screenwriting, am I correct on saying that?
Yeah, I converted my first novel, Girls Who Wear Glasses, into a 1 hour pilot.
Okay.
And I put it out there, and we're still seeing if anything comes from it. It's a slow process, but yeah, I turned my book into a potential pilot for television.
Okay. And that jumps right in past this question to 4. On your screenwriting, as far as
I'll just take over.
Hey, you know what? Because sometimes you'll get someone who really is real talkative, and then there's some that you have to maybe help lead and coax into everything. So I'm all fine with either way. But let's go jump right ahead. Let's talk about Girls Who Wear Glasses, and tell us a little bit about its creation, how that came about for you.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. Do you remember the Dove soap commercials from about 10, 15 years ago that was promoting body positivity, and with the women of all different sizes in their underwear in the commercials and print ads? Do you remember those?
On the total risk of dating me? Yeah.
Oh, I'm so beyond
No,
that.
yeah.
I'm so beyond that.
Oh.
I'm older than dirt.
I
Who
just
cares?
turned 49 this week, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm not far behind you.
Oh, now you're older than dirt, but you're not far behind me. That's all right. I won't take offense. Keep going. Dove commercials.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I assume everybody's about 10 years younger than I am.
So, I don't know.
I just don't assume.
I've to be honest with you, I've come to the point when I enter the room, I'm going to be the oldest person there. So keep going, honey. Dove
Oh
soap.
my God, yeah. Oh, I'm at the point where I see a cute guy and I think to myself, if I were 20 years younger, I'd still be too old for him.
I'm thinking if you don't got enough gray hair, he's not my age.
Right. Exactly.
But anyways,
those that run of ads,
Okay.
and I thought, okay, this whole body positivity thing, I think that's wonderful, and I really do, sincerely. But some of us are not there yet. And whether it's a generational thing or a cultural thing or a society thing, I said that's great. Not all of us are there yet.
Hmm.
And wouldn't it be interesting to tell the story of a plus size woman, however you want to define that term, who isn't there yet, who
Okay.
has issues with her appearance and it affects her life? And I came up with a story, and of course we all pull from our lives as writers. It's not autobiographical, not even thinly veiled autobiographical, but some of my points of view are in there.
Right.
And so I just started with the story about a woman who is not happy with herself.
Right.
And how does she negotiate her life? And how does she see herself? And how does she define herself with her relationships with her found family, her circle of friends? And I just took it from there.
Right. Well, I think sadly, a lot of us can relate. Women in general. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
men don't go this, but I'm not a man, so I can't really speak for the
Right.
gender. But
Yeah.
for my own self, I understand never feeling quite. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you're the one who judges yourself the most
Oh
harsh.
God, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I get that, and I was picked on
Yeah.
in school, and I've been every size in the book. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have been, I've been smaller. I've been this. I've starved myself. I've had an eating disorder. So I
Yeah.
get where you're coming from on this
Yeah.
completely. And I think just as me being the wiser one here because I'm a little older, right? Anyways, I think that once you reach a certain age, it's not as much of an important issue as it is when we are younger.
Right.
But I think that again, that comes with age. It comes with that
Yeah.
time and that experience. Because if you were to tell your younger self what we know now, you would probably like, who's this old lady trying to tell me what
Exactly.
to do?
Exactly.
So, as you talk about writing a screenplay, and I believe that I got the sensation when I was doing the research, and you let me know if I'm wrong, but
Okay.
I got the sensation that your dream job would be to write spec scripts for television, perhaps. Am I getting this
Actually,
wrong?
yeah, you're very close.
Okay.
I love writing novels, and I'm going to continue to do that. But yeah, oh yeah, I've always wanted to write for television.
Right.
On staff at a sitcom. I think the first show I ever really wanted to write for was, I think, let's say, Mad About You
Okay. Yeah, I
in the
remember
early
that.
90s.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think,
that old. Yeah, go ahead.
but shows like that, shows like Seinfeld and Mad About You and Frasier and Will and Grace,
Oh, yes.
the original,
Yes.
even
Yes.
Friends to a certain extent. Even Friends to a certain extent, I think really shaped my worldview and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to express myself creatively.
Mhm.
I said, how great is that? You have a recurring set of characters. You get to tell their story every week and make people laugh in the process. And I thought, it's the best of all worlds as far as I was concerned. So yeah, oh God, writing for television, yeah, that would be the best. Along with writing novels, because I have found that to be something I enjoy very, very much.
Right. Well, let's see. Let's backtracking a few questions. And you're talking about your aspirations of screenwriting. Can you maybe take a minute with so girls who wear glasses? Keep that in mind. Explain the writing process for you on how it was as a writing as a book, and how you've done your screenwriting for your sitcom.
Sure. Well, imagine taking a bunch of glitter and throwing it up in the air, and then as it lands, that's my writing process.
Okay.
It's funny. Some people are very much plotzers,
Uh-huh.
which sounds like a Yiddish term. Oh, I could plots. Um, and some people are very much seat of the pants writers, and I'm the latter. I just kind of have an idea, and I go from signpost to signpost. I every time I do that though, I hear my late mother's voice in my head going, "You need to outline it, outline it." In her very very distinctive New York accent.
Right.
When I started Girls, I just had basically the story in my head. I had the beginning, the middle, and the end. I had certain scenes that I knew needed to happen, and in between, I would just sit there and go, "All right, what needs to happen next?" And I'd sit and marinate on it for a little while, and then I'd write the next scene. And okay, what needs to happen next? And kind of keep going from there. Um, and then you go back and you fill in and you fix and you edit and you take things out, you eliminate chapters. But I really just go from signpost to signpost. These need to happen, and how do I get there? So that's how I wrote my book. I do need to outline it, but I don't quite. I don't quite. And as far as transferring that to a script, it's difficult. It is much more difficult than I thought.
Right.
It might have been easier to do it as a 2-hour feature,
Mm.
but I really wanted to focus on television and the newfangled streaming media. So I tried to cut it down to make it episodic, and you have to look at the beginning of your story and say, okay, what do I really need to focus on? How do I introduce this character to the world when we don't have the benefit of being in her head?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I can't tell you how she's feeling or get into her thought process. As an audience member, you're sitting on the outside. You're not privy to that. So you really have to pare down the story.
Right.
And you go, well, okay, what about this? Well, I can do that in another episode. How do I introduce this character and set up her issues and get it going? And that's why pilots are so difficult.
Right.
Most of the time, I don't love pilots of any show, even shows I grow to love, because there's just so much to ingest.
Right.
So that's why you have to kind of give a good show a couple of episodes to get into it. So it was a very difficult process, kind of paring away, at the essence of the story, and put her on the screen, if you will.
Right. Well,
figuratively.
A couple of things come to mind when I'm hearing you speak. One, when you go back and you talk about how you don't outline in that, I find it interesting. Hear me out on this. Simply
Sure.
because, well, I've written a couple of books myself, about 12.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, don't be too pressed.
I'm on my third.
Yeah,
I'm on my
don't be
third.
too impressed. I write for myself, and if it intrigues someone else along the line, then that makes me happy. But
Well, you have to.
yeah,
You absolutely
right.
have to do that.
I totally write for myself. Although I understand both ways. I understand writing for your fan base too. I'm not naive to that. However, when I stop and think, because I've gotten my criticism when I started out, okay? Because everyone shows their mom, and because your mom like it, don't mean the whole world's gonna, You're like, oh, I'm gonna be big, mom loves it, but not quite that way. But
My mom had notes.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
my husband did, but we won't go there.
Yeah, my mom had notes. All right.
Okay. Well, anyways, like I was saying, so I always had to believe, because I did a little bit of college, but nowhere near what you did. So when I stop and think about the outlining process, I always think these are more academic people. You know what I mean? That have gone. So you actually like slapped me in the face by my thinking right there, because you're more by the seat of the pants. And I can really relate, because that's how I write.
Yeah.
I start with a premise, and then I go, and then my characters build as I write, and I'll do
Yeah.
a sideline thing, building that character, just in case I want to do a sequel or whatever,
Right.
So I'll write as the characters write. I'll add to that. So that I find very interesting, because you just blew my whole theory there away. But I won't judge you for it, because I'm like, yeah, this girl's my kind of girl. But the other part, when you talk about screenwriting, here's what I find interesting. So this is just me assuming. I have no knowledge of this at all, okay? So you let me know, and you have more experience at this than I do.
I'm a novice as well. I mean,
Oh, okay. All right,
It's a new
cool.
process for me.
Well, let's spit spot some theories here.
Yeah.
I would think when you start to write that, because like you said, you can't really tell what she's thinking unless you're into a monologue and you have it, you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
kind of like how Sex in the City, she would talk over, you know what I mean? And over the dialogue.
Yeah.
However, when you would write for the sitcom, do you feel as though, and maybe this is just me, would you have to write more as far as showing her emotions and as far as motion of her body, her face, where she stands, how she holds
Mhm.
herself? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm just
Yeah.
curious about your concept on that. Do you think about that when you're writing? Because I hear you say about breaking it down and trying to
Yeah.
pinpoint those areas. Have you thought about that in general to when you're writing for screenplay?
I do, but that's just because I'm a former actor.
Okay.
You really, I think, and again, I'm a novice at this. I have a script, but that's
Okay.
that's the extent of it.
Okay. You
Um,
got more than
I,
I got, so go with it.
but it's hard because there is a lot. You basically are providing a skeleton, as far as I'm concerned, and
Hmm.
then as far as uh, how the character moves and talks, that's the actor's job.
Right.
That's the director's job. So you just, I think, with a script, you're really providing a framework and a
Okay.
story, and then the director and the actors are gonna kind of take that and run with it.
Okay. So it makes you wonder, though, when you do that. It, does the story kind of evolve into maybe how the director or the actor
Oh yeah,
sees it?
oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
okay, have you, since you've done the acting, have you ever felt that, or have you had ever in a situation where a writer of a screenplay was like, that's not quite the intent that I meant?
Well, yeah. My acting, with stage acting. A lot of times, some playwrights will put a lot of stage directions to the actors
Mm-hmm.
in there, and it could be anywhere from crosses stage left,
Okay.
which could be problematic because maybe the director doesn't want them to cross stage left at that point, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have to just take that as a suggestion. And then sometimes playwrights will put in the stage directions really how they want the line to be read, the monologue to be done. And I don't know, unless the playwright is in the audience, I think you're free to make it your own.
Right.
If you're the actor working with the director, they can take it in a whole other direction because, as you know, as a writer, no matter what you're writing, once you put that out in the world,
Oh, yeah.
it's not yours anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So
Exactly.
if you're a playwright, you just kind of have to go, okay, well, these are my suggestions. If you can do that, if you're not I don't know what language you allow on your thing. If you're not a jerk,
I try to stay, nice and
right,
even. But
right,
yeah, I get you,
fill in
Joe.
the blank.
Yeah,
If
fill in
you're
the
not
blank.
a
Yeah,
fill in the blank,
exactly.
you just go, okay, well, that's how they're taking it. And I know some playwrights and screenwriters are probably very strict. No, 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 that's not how I wanted it. But really, once you put the play, the script, the book out there,
Hmm.
it's not yours anymore, and people are free to interpret however they want. So
Right,
I do have an idea how a scene would be played when I write it, but I also have to keep in mind that it could be done completely differently.
right. We're basically out of time, but I have a few more questions. Do you want to stick
Oh
with me for
no,
just a little bit more?
absolutely. I'll
All
stay
right.
for an hour. I've got nothing to do.
I only do about 20 minutes,
Ah,
but I do have a few more questions, so I don't want to let you go
sure.
yet. But I just want to
I'll,
make
I'll,
sure.
I'll keep them brief. I'll keep
Okay.
them brief.
No, yo, you're fine. You're fine. Sometimes we're a little longer, but 20 minutes is what I shoot for.
Sure.
But we're good if you go over it. So I'm not. That's not a problem at all. But what I
Okay,
want
because
to
I.
do is I want to talk just a little bit about a future endeavors. I believe that it
Mhm.
is Enchanting Sarah Greenberg. I want to hit base with that a little bit. Can you tell us a little
Sure.
bit if you can? I know it's not quite out yet, right?
Yeah, it's coming out March 22nd. I think we're going to drop it.
Okay, so
We pushed it ahead a little bit from City Owl Press, a
right.
lovely small publisher. Uh, yeah, it's coming out March 25th. 22nd. I'm free to talk about it. In
Okay.
fact, I'd love to.
Oh, awesome.
Uh,
Good.
it, why else would I be here? Yeah, Enchanting Sarah Greenberg is my take on magical realism for adults.
Okay.
Kind of a Harry Potter thing without the rampant transphobia.
Mm.
Um, yeah, well, in Israel, it's a bit problematic. Yeah, I won't go there. I don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, it's about a 39-year-old food writer from Chicago
Hmm.
whose family owns a long-standing magic shop, magic store in the city. And of course, if you're from the Chicagoland area, when I say the city, I'm obviously referring to Chicago because what other city is there? Um,
Okay.
Sorry, New York. Sorry,
No,
LA.
you're not hurting me. I live in Ruralville, so then go ahead.
But yeah, her family owns a long-standing magic shop,
Hmm.
and through a couple of incidents, she finds that she comes from a family of actual magicians, and
Hmm.
magician magic spelled a little bit differently. They are actual, honest to God magicians. No illusions. They can actually do harness magic, and she was apparently born without the ability, and her whole family kept it from her. And then she was kind of a late bloomer and discovered that she can do magic, and she comes from a family of powerful magicians. And she has to make this very sudden life adjustment on who she thought she was, just a writer living an ordinary life with a nice boyfriend and a nice job, and didn't consider herself anything special, and then all of a sudden finds she has these extraordinary abilities. And how do you make that adjustment?
Right.
Any big change in your life, and
And
then hijinks ensue. So
I'm assuming there's going to be lots of humor in this.
yes, yeah, that's just my thing. I have to write humorous stories. My goal is to tell the story, but also make people laugh.
Nice. Nice.
It's super important. So
You,
there's some fun characters and some hopefully some humorous elements for people to enjoy.
nice. You throw some action in there, you got me hooked.
There's a
Okay.
little bit.
So, with a final question, because we're in the holidays and all that, for my final question, with the holidays in the air, let's talk tradition. Tell me a holiday that could find its way into your book.
Well, let's see. Arbor Day is very
Oh.
important to me. No, um, I have to tell you, I grew up in a very non-observant family.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was Jewish, and my father's family are not. Nice family of Gentiles. So I kind of grew up in a dual religion household. I consider myself Jewish. I
I,
don't
I was about
believe in
ready
the
just to
term.
point to that because you'd said Jewish, and so I
Oh
was,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I don't like the term half Jewish. I am.
right.
But I acknowledge, my father's family history, which is long and storied. Um, so we had two things going in the house. We'd have a menorah in the kitchen and a Christmas tree in the living room. And my mother loved Christmas decorations.
Right.
Loved them. I mean, she always figured as long as she didn't have baby Jesus in the manger, we were all right. Nothing was going to burst into flames.
Right, right. It
So,
wasn't going to combust. Okay, I got ya.
right. We're okay. We're not ticking anybody off. We're good. So every year we'd have the tree and the menorah.
Mhm.
So I have made uh, my characters so far have been Jewish,
Okay,
and varying degrees of observant. But I think for me it's always been more of a cultural aspect and a touchstone to
okay,
pull from. So it's a point of view. It's a way. It's being taller than your grandmother by age 10.
right.
It's the food. It's having another grandmother who thinks if one is good, three is better. And do we have enough? And it's like, well, I heard the fleet is in. I think we're going to have enough.
So I'm hearing you say chalk generalism. So have you already touched base on the holidays in your books?
Not really.
Not really.
I do talk about Shabbat
Okay.
in the second book in Enchanting Sarah Greenberg. They
And
have a family dinner, and another character asks, "Well, is a Shabbat dinner?" And she said, "No, it's not on Friday nights. It's Saturdays. That's when we could get together."
okay, explain
Um,
Shabbats for us who don't know.
oh, it's. I don't observe it myself, but
Okay.
basically, it's the end of the week. It's a time we power down. we abstain from work. I say a couple of prayers over dinner at sundown. People who observe this, they really just power down. I don't remember
Okay.
the religious significance behind it. I know I should, although.
It's all right.
But you light some
You're right.
candles, and that's the end of your day. So from sundown to sundown, just kind of turn off the screens, turn off the computers, turn off the phones, and just touch base with
Right.
yourself and with the people that you consider your family.
Wonderful. I really enjoyed having you on the program today.
Oh, thank you.
And you will have to come back when this newest comes out. We'll definitely have
Absolutely.
to have you back. I want to thank our audience for coming in. I'm so happy that you guys join us every Thursday and sometimes Tuesdays and sometimes an odd day. It just depends on what's going on. I really appreciate it. Please stay tuned to next Thursday when we have our next guest. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you again. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Just kind of turn off the screens, turn off the computers, turn off the phones, and just touch base with
Right.
yourself and with the people that you consider your family.
Wonderful. I really enjoyed having you on the program today.
Oh, thank you.
And you will have to come back when this newest comes out. We'll definitely have
Absolutely.
to have you back. I want to thank our audience for coming in. I'm so happy that you guys join us every Thursday and sometimes Tuesdays and sometimes an odd day. It just depends on what's going on. I really appreciate it. Please stay tuned to next Thursday when we have our next guest. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you again. See you next time.